Ever since she was a teenager, Lucy has been collecting memorabilia from all her failed relationships to the point that it borders on obsessive. Even as her two best friends try to convince her to get rid of some of the garbage that they think she collects, Lucy has her process of mourning her relationships. Now that Lucy is all grown up, she lives in New York with her two best friends, Amanda and Nadine. Amanda's boyfriend Jeff also stays with them. Lucy works as an art gallery assistant for a very famous and influential gallerist in New York, Eva Wolf. But despite her professional growth, Lucy's process of dealing with breakups by collecting souvenirs has taken up all the space in her room and her life. Lucy's latest flame is her colleague Max. They met at Eva's gallery and Lucy is completely smitten with him. She can't believe a guy like Max could ever choose to be with her. Her friends ask Lucy if she is on the same page as Max about their relationship. Though Lucy thinks she does not need to, she plans to confirm with him later that night. Feeling happy and so in love, Lucy leaves for work. But 12 hours later, Lucy's love life has changed routes. Instead of making a home for her in paradise, it has taken her on a road to Sadville. Drunk and hysterically crying, Lucy gets into Nick's car, assuming it is her Uber ride. She keeps calling him Adolfo even when Nick tries telling her it is his private car. But Lucy can't be reasoned with in her current condition. She has had the worst night of her life, and sensing that she needs help, Nick decides to at least drop her home. While on the road, Lucy, who is still very much drunk and depressed, starts spilling her sad story to Nick. She shows him the tie in her hand and tells Nick that the tie belongs to her ex-boyfriend Max. It is the souvenir she's left with from their disastrous breakup. Lucy starts from the top, telling Nick about how her day started perfectly. She was so in love with Max, and with her having all the knowledge of the gallery they work at, Lucy would always help Max with tips he needed to advance his career as the gallery's director. And everything worked like clockwork with them. Then, later that night at the party, Lucy was enjoying herself and drinking merrily as she was riding the love wave. But she fell deep into the ocean when she found out that Max was back with his ex-girlfriend Amelia, who just happened to show up at the party as well. And that shocker, coupled with Lucy's fear of public speaking and one too many drinks, lead to the night that would go down in history as the worst night of her life. Not only did she embarrass herself and get dumped, but she also got fired. When her story concludes, Nick tells her that she is better off without a guy like Max. Lucy is just bummed about her life right now. Just as Nick drops her home, Lucy gets a call from her Uber driver. When she finds out that Nick is not Adolfo, Lucy panics to get out of his car. She calms down enough to thank him for dropping her home, and then leaves. Lucy gets home and tells her friends about the failure of a day she had. The squad gets straight to comforting her. 3 weeks pass by and Amanda is on a mission to clean Lucy's room. She has enough collectibles from her past relationships to make her room seem like a stinky shrine. Not to mention, she has not left her room in days. Amanda starts throwing Lucy's old relationship collectibles into a garbage bag, and Lucy does not take that well. The girls reason with her that Lucy can't keep living in the past, but for Lucy, the past is filled with happy times, and she refuses to let go. Lucy asks her friends to trust her process. She needs the things she collects, but her friends are simply worried about her. They manage to convince her to get rid of all of her ex-memorabilia. Lucy meets with one of her ex-boyfriends to return what she took from him when she finds out that one of the reasons why they broke up was because of the kind of stuff Lucy collects. She even tries to pawn all of her collectibles away, but much to her disappointment, she can't seem to get rid of them. Meanwhile, Nick and his business partner and best friend Marcos have received an eviction notice. Lucy is walking down the street with all her collectibles when she spots Max with Amelia. She decides to confront Max and follows him into a restaurant. But before Lucy can make it to him, the hostess sees her and stops her before Lucy can cause a scene. While struggling to get past her, Lucy spots Nick at the bar and lies that she is meeting him. Lucy makes a run toward Max, ditching the hostess, but Nick catches her in the middle and carries her out. Lucy and Nick get formally introduced to each other, and after making sure she is okay, Nick is about to leave when a random lady thinks he is causing Lucy some trouble. The lady violently chases Nick, but he eventually manages to escape. The lady, not Lucy, feeling responsible for the beating that he took, Lucy follows Nick to make sure he's alright. They eventually get to a half-constructed hotel, which is Nick's place of work. She finds out that this is Nick's dream project. It is an old YMCA he is turning into a boutique hotel named Chloe. That impresses Lucy. The two get to talking and drink some. When Nick looks into the bag Lucy has been carrying around, he finds out about her habit of collecting past relationship trash and makes fun of her. He calls her out for being a hoarder and accuses her of being afraid of letting go and being scared of not remembering the guys she has dated. Lucy turns the interrogative nozzle onto him, asking him if he has never kept a souvenir from the past. Nick claims to be a minimalist, and he never keeps anything from his past relationships. When Nick takes Max's tie and hangs it up a wall to help Lucy let go of the stuff she has been hoarding, it is then that Lucy is struck with an idea for the Broken Hearts Gallery. Lucy has a hard time leaving the tie behind, but eventually manages to leave without it. The next morning, Lucy is still in bed, jobless, when Nick shows up at her apartment. He has something to show. Lucy leaves with him and at the construction site, finds a map displayed next to Max's tie. Just like her tie, the map was someone's breakup memorabilia. Lucy gets excited by the possibility of converting this into an actual gallery. It could be like community service for the heartbroken. But Nick refuses to give his hotel space for her gallery. Marcos enters the scene and Lucy finds out that Nick is essentially Marcos's future baby's godfather. Lucy becomes friends with Marcos pretty quickly and he completely supports her decision to open the gallery in the hotel. She even offers free labor to Nick. Despite Nick not being on board with the idea, Lucy and Marcos plan to get to work. Lucy posts on her Instagram about the Broken Hearts Gallery, and it blows up. People start responding to her idea and share their own breakup stories with her. The positive response gives Lucy the confidence to keep going. But she wants to text Max and let him know about her gallery idea, but Amanda stops her. She suggests Lucy go out with Nick instead, but Lucy will not mix business with pleasure after the last disaster. Amanda suggests that Lucy invite Nick to her birthday party. Meanwhile, Nick is struggling with some financial troubles and is unable to pay Marcos on time. Lucy arrives at work with coffee and her cheerful spirit. A woman walks in with an old cast in hand for it to be displayed in the Broken Hearts Gallery. Lucy records the woman's heartbreak story of how she was admitted to a hospital 5 years ago and had gotten a cast on her leg. She fell in love with the nurse who nursed her back to health and they had plans to get married, but later on, the nurse ditched the woman and broke her heart. When she hands the cast over, the woman feels so much lighter and better. She offers the donations to Nick to keep. Days go by and Lucy manages to collect a lot of memorabilia and some money from the donations. Lucy even offers to be Nick's interior designer, and the two start to develop a friendship. She takes him shopping for cheap but classy stuff since he is practically broke. They even manage to find a discarded couch that still has some good years left in it. They carry it all the way to Chloe, but when Lucy gets tired of lugging it, they take a break and get talking some more. Lucy asks Nick for his life story, and Nick finally caves and gives it to her. He tells her that the only reason he is able to make this dream hotel come true is because of his grandmother. He talks fondly of her and tells Lucy that after she passed away, she left Nick some money which aided him to make his dream a reality. Lucy is charmed by his story and even more by the fact that Nick has named the hotel after his grandmother. But before Nick can validate her assumption, Lucy gets distracted by an ice cream vendor. Later, Lucy tells Max about how she got into art and chose New York to settle in. She speaks fondly of her mother and how she was the reason why Lucy fell in love with art. But as she talks about the woman, there is an evident sadness in Lucy's eyes. A few days later, Lucy is in a bookstore with Nick when he leaves to grab a coffee. There, Lucy spots Max at the counter. He accidentally leaves his AirPods case behind and Lucy grabs it, claiming to know the man. She chases him with the excuse to return the case, but when she sees Max going to Amelia, Lucy feels taken aback. Max spots Lucy there and she struggles to act like she has got it together. Amelia and Max impale Lucy with judgmental and pitiful looks, but before things get worse, Nick arrives at the scene and saves Lucy from any further embarrassment. He talks her up by introducing himself as her assistant, and even goes as far as to tell Max that Lucy has her own gallery now. Despite having dumped her, Max does have a reaction when he sees how well Lucy is doing without him. Nick assures Lucy that now Max will want her back. He takes her to a cool place where neon signs are made, because he needs to collect the sign for his hotel. There he tells her what the Latin words on his sign mean. It means into the middle of things. That is what his hotel also stands for, and it's where people will meet and intersect in their story. Lucy still has Max's AirPods case with her, and after a long internal struggle of whether to throw it or keep it, Lucy decides to keep it for now. Nick and Marcos have a meeting with the bank to secure a loan for their project, and meanwhile, the Broken Hearts Gallery continues to grow and provide relief and comfort to all grieving people in the city. While Lucy is manning the desk at the gallery, a woman shows up searching for Nick, but seeing as he is not there, she leaves without a name or a message. Amanda's murder karaoke birthday party arrives. Nick and Marcos and his wife are in attendance as well. Lucy shows Nick the New York magazine where their gallery has been mentioned. She is super excited and can't wait to get back at Max. She has moved on from being in denial about her breakup to being angry at Max and getting revenge. Nick is skeptical about Lucy's intentions when she tells him about her plan to invite influencers to the gallery's opening night. This way the news would reach Max, and he would be jealous of Lucy's success. But Nick can't say yes to any of her plans for the gallery until he can secure a loan for the hotel. Later, Lucy and Nick sing karaoke and Nick loosens up a little bit. Marcos can notice how much happier Nick seems in Lucy's presence, more than he has seen him since his ex. He tells Nick as much, but Nick is not ready to address this topic yet. Just as Lucy won't address her feelings for Nick when Amanda and Nadine bring it up later. They are both oblivious to their very apparent feelings for each other. That night when Lucy and the girls return home, Lucy is shocked to find Max sitting on the stairs outside their apartment. The girls begin to interrogate Max, not at all going easy on him for breaking Lucy's heart. Lucky for him, Lucy comes to his rescue. Max tells Lucy that he still wants her, and that he is still in love with her. He even broke up with Amelia because he wants to be with Lucy now. He can't stop thinking about her since he ran into her that day. Lucy isn't sure what to say to him when Nick shows up there. The two guys get into an ego battle over her. Nick only came to hand Lucy the cake. He leaves there, looking disappointed. Later, Max asks Lucy to get a drink with him, and while they are talking, Max thinks he's let off easy. Lucy puts him in his place but holds him accountable for cheating on her. Max accepts his mistakes, and he wants to start fresh with her. He even broke into the gallery and took the tie off the wall. Lucy feels touched by his gesture, but she is still not sure about him. He just wants another chance with Lucy. Hesitant at first, Lucy finally agrees to have lunch with him. The next day, she heads over to the gallery to meet Nick, where she finds him in a sour mood. Nick tells her that he did not secure a loan for the hotel, and he can't keep it going anymore. Lucy tries to comfort him, but that only makes Nick angrier. He is hurting and disappointed, and lashing out at Lucy for something that isn't her fault. Lucy reminds him that this also means bad news for the gallery. They are in this together, but Nick does not think so. He harshly tells Lucy to take her stuff and get out of there. Hurt by his behavior, Lucy does walk out, but not before she reminds him about the commitment that she made to every person who donated stuff to the gallery. She is not going to just give up like that. Lucy tries to find a place for her gallery, but fails each time. She even tries to put up a roadside stand, but even that does not gain much traction. Meanwhile, Nick begins winding up the construction at work. Lucy can't get through to one gallery in the tri-state area when Max reminds her that she hasn't tried at one particular place. Lucy can't even entertain the possibility that her ex-boss, Eva Wolf, would allow her to put up shop in her gallery. But Max persuades her to try, and so Lucy does. Fortunately for her, Eva is impressed by Lucy's idea and the progress she has made so far with the Broken Hearts Gallery. She offers Lucy to have the Broken Hearts Gallery in the exhibit in her gallery, alongside her own, and Lucy's happiness touches the skies. This is a dream come true for her. Lucy readily accepts the offer, but she has one condition. Max, being Max, tries to hog the credit for making this happen for Lucy, and that's when Lucy realizes something. She meets up with Nadine and asks her to teach her how to break up with someone. Lucy meets up with Max at his apartment and wants to know what happened between him and Amelia. Max finally tells her that he was in love with Amelia and wanted to marry her, but she wasn't ready. They broke up and she left for Paris. And now when she saw that Max was happy, Amelia wanted him back. While Lucy gets that story, she does not want to be a part of it anymore. She breaks up with the man. Later, she is alone at her home talking to someone on the phone when Nick shows up there. He wonders why Lucy always makes these weird sneaky phones and with whom. Nick is there to apologize to her for the way he behaved. He also has some good news for her, and Lucy was the first person he wanted to share it with. A mysterious lender came through, and now Nick got the loan for the Chloe. Lucy is so happy to hear his news, and she also shares her good news with him. And now that the hotel is saved, Lucy wants to keep her exhibit at Chloe. Nick is so proud of Lucy's success, and that makes Lucy feel good. They get to work on planning the gallery exhibit while having the time of their lives. This time that they spend together brings Lucy and Nick even closer to each other. So much so that Lucy asks Nick out to hang with her one day. She wants to introduce him to the person she has been making those sneaky phone calls to. The next day, Lucy brings Nick to an old age home where she introduces Nick to a woman named Cheryl. He finds out that Cheryl is Lucy's mother, but the woman does not remember Lucy anymore, and has to be reminded who she is every time she visits. He finally understands who Lucy used to make those calls to. Nick starts to play the piano and Cheryl is thoroughly impressed by him. Lucy and Cheryl dance to Nick's tunes and they spend the entire day together. Later at night, Lucy and Nick return to the hotel and they share a moment. Nick asks her for a drink, but not at the hotel's bar. He takes her to a room upstairs, and then to a secret bar inside a closet. Lucy is completely impressed by all this and they toast to finish what they started. Chemistry sparkles between them, and they share a kiss. The kiss escalates and leads to something more. Later, when they are lying in bed, Lucy and Nick decide to take what they have from friendship to something more than just friends. As the gallery opening nears, Lucy and Nick grow closer. Lucy is with her friends at the coffee shop when Nick calls her, and asks her to meet him at the neon sign store the next day. He has a surprise for her. Lucy seems so happy with Nick. When she goes to collect her coffee order, the barista lets her take it for free. He tells her how her gallery helped him heal from his boyfriend who had passed away. Lucy feels touched and also very altruistic for having been able to help people. The next day, Lucy waits for Nick to show up at the neon sign place, but he never does. After waiting a while, she goes looking for him at the Chloe, and there she finds Nick giving the tour of the hotel to a girl. Lucy recognizes her as the girl who came looking for Nick a few weeks ago, but she gets the shock of her life when she finds out that the girl's name is Chloe, and that she is Nick's ex. Lucy runs out of there and Nick, panicked and guilty, follows her. Outside, Lucy shouts at him for lying to her about the hotel being named after his grandmother. Nick reminds her that he never told her anything like that. Lucy simply assumed it like she assumes every other thing. But he never even corrected her about it either. Lucy feels so betrayed and cheated because all this time Nick was giving her a hard time about keeping souvenirs from her relationships, while he has built an entire hotel for his ex. She introduced him to her mom, she trusted him, and now Lucy feels like she doesn't even know the guy anymore. They have a terrible fight and Lucy leaves. When Nick shows up at Lucy's apartment to apologize to her, he finds that she is on the roof, but before he can leave, Amanda and Nadine make sure to give him a list of graphic ways in which he might accidentally stumble upon his death. Even Jeff shows him the finger. Nick finds Lucy on the roof. Lucy does not seem to be in the mood to talk to him, but Nick lets her know that the Broken Hearts opening night is her night, and that he will steer clear of the hotel that day. He explains to Lucy that he was only showing Chloe around the hotel and she does not mean anything to him anymore. The reason he can't change the hotel's name is that it's just too expensive now. He apologizes to her, and though Lucy can feel it is genuine, she is still hurt. She lets him go without a word. Later, Eva comes to Lucy bearing a donation of her own. She gives Lucy an empty ring box and tells her about how she was once married to a man who used to be jealous of everything Eva ever had or achieved. She later divorced him and then sold his ring to start the Wolf Gallery, and vowed to represent artists who made her feel enthusiastic and never looked back. This inspires Lucy, and she feels happy to receive her mentor's contribution and approval, though she wonders if Eva ever regretted leaving her husband. Eva tells her that she would not have been the same person if she hadn't married that man. Pain is inevitable, Eva tells her, but it is what you do with the pain that matters. Her words resonate with Lucy and she feels inspired. She runs back home and starts putting away everything she has collected from her previous relationships, and that makes Lucy feel liberated and at peace. It is opening night, and Lucy is getting ready in her room. Her friends want to know if Nick will be there at the opening night, but Lucy pretends to be not bothered about that. But then she catches her friends fighting over something related to Nick and Lucy and finds out that for all the years she has been dating, Amanda and Nadine have been betting on her relationships and the decisions Lucy takes for them. Suffice it to say, Lucy is shocked by that revelation. Nick is out at the store with Marcos and his wife. Nick tells them he can't go to the gallery opening because he feels sick, but both Marcos and his wife know that that isn't true. The lady screams at her husband to make Nick understand that he is not sick, and the reason behind it as well. Marcos tells Nick that the reason he feels awful is that he is heartbroken. Nick does not think so, and Marcos, to save his best friend from a life of loneliness, brings out the big guns. He tells Nick that the loan from the mysterious lender that they received was all because of Lucy. She convinced Eva Wolf to be the private lender. The revelation makes Nick realize something, and he bolts out the door. The opening of Lucy's art gallery is a huge success, and Lucy feels so proud of herself. Everyone is mesmerized by what Lucy has created with her talent. Compared to how Lucy was in the beginning, she is now much more confident in her art and her talents. Lucy takes the stage and gives a speech, giving a shout out to everyone who contributed to making her dream a reality. She thanks each and every person who helped her get to where she is today. While she's giving her speech, Nick is running across the city with a large sign that he especially had made for her. He reaches the venue with the sign and stands in the crowd, owning his grand gesture moment. He confesses to her that the map she found next to the tie that night was not a random person's, but his. He tells her that he met Chloe while working in a hotel and then fell for her. But then she left him for his boss, and Nick was devastated. He vowed to never love again, but then he met Lucy. He put that map up next to Lucy's tie because he wanted to show it to her and he wanted to see her again. He confesses that he loves, and the crowd cheers him on, but Lucy is stumped for words. Hesitant at first, Lucy is eventually worn down by the cheering crowd and her obviously undeniable feelings for Nick. They chant for Lucy to love him back, and Lucy gets down. Nick lights up the neon sign which reads the Broken Hearts Gallery. He changed the name of the hotel for her. Lucy can't fight against that, and she kisses him, readily accepting his confession and loving him back. And so the party continues.